Okay, cool. All right, guys. Welcome to the Sunday Night Call. Appreciate you joining us. We got a great call tonight. I'm so excited for this call. In fact, I was so excited that I jumped in the shower and literally my feet went out from under me and I hit the side of the tub really hard and put a nice little gash in my head. Yeah. So what did I do? Of course, I finished the shower, I shaved, walked down, got a Band-Aid, came back up here, prepared for the call, because that's what being solutions-oriented is, and I wanted to be on this call big time. So I'm sitting here with ice on my knee, and I have a packet for my head in a minute, but we will get this call in. We're going to have a lot of fun, and we got some great information for you. The first thing we're going to do is I'm going to actually throw it over to Ken, because we're going to talk about something that's coming up next week for our team. And as soon as he's done, then we'll throw it over to Adam and we'll let him do his presentation. So Ken, take it away.
What's up, everyone? Hey, we got some new training coming out next month. It's going to start the 30th of this month. What this is, it's going to concentrate on the vital behavior of inviting. That's the one that most people have the hardest time with. And this is going to be 30 days of only concentrating on inviting. We've got Morgan making noise right here. We have little videos. It's going to be short videos to learn how to invite, but mostly it's just going to be you actually doing the work. So this group is not something for someone that's just a hobby coach that doesn't want to go further in this business. This is something that you're going to have to do some inviting throughout the whole month to take your business forward. We're going to work together to get the invites out there. We're going to use the team calendar, but all this week we're going to be giving you a little more information about how this group's going to run, because we want you to be successful. If you say you want to be in this group, we want to make sure that you know ahead of time what's going to happen and how you're going to get through this. But if you do commit to this, you are going to see your business explode. It might not be this month, but it may be 3 months down the road or 6 months down the road. So watch what's coming out in the page and what's being promoted, and we hope that as many people as joins us as we can get in there.
Awesome. Yeah, guys, we want everybody to be a part of this, but you got to commit to it. And so as you see this information come out and you're ready to commit, you know, it's just 30 days, but it's going to help you move your business forward. It's going to help you be consistent with inviting and using the team calendar to go forward and drive your business forward. And that's what we all want to do. So Ken and Trinity put together a nice, simple, easy to follow format, and we'll all go through this together and we'll all be better off for it. So let's make sure we hop on that. Also, just a quick reminder, if you're in the Chicago area, we've got the leadership training coming up on the 1st of the month. Make sure you get tickets to that. All you got to do is be Emerald or higher or make Success Club for the month. Boom. You're going to meet with Jeff Hill from Beachbody Corporate, Senior Vice President. So make sure you get to that. And then we got the Super Saturdays coming up next month. And for some of you, the Super Saturdays are already up and available to register for. So make sure you register for your local Super Saturday. All right, so here we go. The main topic tonight is fear. We all have fear. We all have holdups. We all have limiting beliefs. And I think one of the toughest things that coaches have when they start in this business is overcoming their own fears and overcoming those limiting belief systems that they have. And that's really what holds them back from progressing forward and doing this business and becoming as successful as you could be. I know I had a lot of limiting beliefs and a lot of fears when I started, and personal development helped a lot with that. But tonight we have a speaker on who specifically deals with helping people overcome their fears and their limiting beliefs. So Adam Kotowski is joining us tonight. He is the owner of 3 and 4. He works with athletes and business professionals and dealing specifically with helping them overcome their fears and limiting beliefs and helping them be the best that they absolutely can be. So I'd like to give a warm Goal Crushers welcome to Mr. Adam Kotowski. And thanks for joining us tonight. All yours.
All right. Can everybody hear me okay? Thank you very much, Paul, for that warm welcome. very excited to be here. As many of you may not know yet, I love to talk, so trying to get me to talk in 20 to 30 minutes is very, very challenging. But we're going to do our best, and I'm going to try to give you a treat at the end so that you can use this and apply it today. I was actually to kind of give you a little bit of bio, because you're probably wondering what what my background is. About 13 years ago, I was in that state where I had pretty much like what you would call a nervous breakdown. Very heavy anxiety driven, very heavy depressed. Number of things that happened in my life. Was told by doctors I'd be on certain medications for the rest of my life. And many different diagnoses. Saw about 9 different specialists, and I just refused to believe that it was just going to be something that I would take a pill that would take care of everything that was going on. And not going against any kind of medical advice, I just decided that I wanted to research a lot of what was going on internally with me, and did my own work on myself. And lo and behold, took a good bit of a year and a half, 2 years, but I was able to reverse every symptom just through my thoughts alone. And the way I just treated my body, and what I did, working out every morning, eating the right foods, changing my health plan. But it all goes back to the credit of what happened internally with my thoughts and my limiting beliefs. So that's kind of the Cliff Note version of my story. There's definitely more to it, but and I'd love to converse in the future with you all about it. Having said that, I was blessed this weekend. My brother, who's been in the Special Forces for 18, 20 years, he retired from the Marine Corps finally after 25. So we flew out there, and I was blessed to speak with many Navy SEALs, MARSOC, which is the Marine Corps version of Special Forces, Army Rangers, and what have you. And when I get in kind of that kind of crowd, in front of that kind of crowd, I ask a lot of questions, because I want to know what's operating the bus when it comes to every individual when I meet. And I asked them point blank, and these are people that are very, very, very no different than you, and I mean that sincerely. They're just people that decided that their mission in life was to serve our country. And I asked every one of them, what makes you go? What makes you survive? What makes you continue on? You have probably the most ridiculous training plan of all time. You're put in foreign lands. You're subject to death every time you get off whatever vehicle that is. And without a question, every one of them said it's the mission. We have a mission, we have a plan, and we will not fail. So I want to talk briefly about failure. If you look at the PowerPoint I was able to attach to this, and if you can't see it, let me know. Go to this page 2, which is, you'll see somebody on a kind of like they're at a park walking on a balance beam. And as you see that, you don't have to raise your hands, but internally you can say to yourself, how many people, if I were to ask them right now to go to a park where there's a balance beam of about, let's say it's an inch or 2 off the ground, which most of them are. If you were to go to that, and I said, how many of you people could walk across that? I'm sure all of you would probably raise your hands and say, yep, I can do that. Because your focus is on getting across the platform. Your focus is walking across that. And even though you might slip, majority of you, maybe not after the first time, but probably the second, guaranteed third time, you'd probably be able to balance yourself to walk across it. And again, all of your focus is going to be on just getting across. You're not going to be focused on anything else, really. But if we go to the third page, and I were to give you a deeper challenge, if I were to say, you know what, I want you to walk across this bar or this rope in between 2 skyline buildings, everything would change. And by changing is your focus was now beyond not falling. Your focus would be total fear, because you'd be afraid of not falling instead of actually just doing what you did when you walked across the beam at the park, which is just putting one foot in front of the other and getting across. And really, when you think about it, that's what fear is. Fear is a mental state. It's a perception. And if we can go back to the second, the frame, what you'll see is everybody has what I call the model of the world. All right, everybody has their perception of reality. There's really there's no such thing as reality. We create reality. All right, and it's really our perception of reality that makes a difference. I remember when I spent some time in my training, which I learned from NLP and neurolinguistic programming, and also in hypnosis. I was able to fly out to California for about 10 days, and I spent time with a gentleman who actually took his shirt off and rolled around in poison oak. Now, this is not something I suggest you do, but he was able to to, on day 1, roll around in poison oak all over the place. And by day 10, there was still no symptoms or sign of him having poison oak. This is also the same gentleman who was able to take anybody's glasses from the crowd and readjust his eyes to look perfectly through those glasses. It was at that point in my life when it really sparked my curiosity about beliefs, about the way we perceive the world, and basically how many things were holding us back in life. How many things were we conditioned to believe? And it was at this point where we really studied the map of reality, which is that we respond to our model of the world, whatever that perception is, okay? However we see something. We can all look at the same object, and all of us will probably have a different opinion about it. But coincidentally, the object doesn't care because the object's just inanimate. It's just sitting there. But we all view it differently. We all have a different perception about it. So you have to understand, when it comes to reality and it comes to what you call fear, it's just basically our model of reality. It's what we think of the world. It's how we perceive it. Just looking at this, there are some things that play a factor in our model of the world. Number 1, genetics and experience, okay? Now, I've often said this. It doesn't matter how positive mental attitude Brian Urlacher gets. And for those who are out of Chicagoland area, Brian Urlacher was a big linebacker, Hall of Fame linebacker for Chicago Bears, who was about 6'4" and weighed about 260 pounds. So I don't care how positive mental attitude Brian Urlacher gets, he's not going to be a good horse jockey in the Kentucky Derby. He's just not genetically defined for that, okay? He could get better. He can be successful, yes, but he really is not genetically engineered to be a jockey on a horse. And the second factor that plays a part in that, in our model of the world, is experience. You think of how you were raised. You think of your school experience. You think of maybe sports teams you played on. Everything you've encountered in your life has been an experience and has been recorded in your conscious. Therefore, it shows up when we least expect it. Now, what I like to talk about, one of the things I like to first discuss is what I call the definition of success. And it's a definition of success by John Wooden. John Wooden said, success is the peace of mind, which is direct satisfaction in knowing you did your best to become the best in which you were capable. Now, I want you to think about that. Think about what you're doing with everything with Beachbody. Okay, success is merely what you define it. It goes back to model of the world. You are successful according to your peace of mind. Peace of mind is the very first phrase that John Wooden uses. Why? Because that's what it is. It's an internal feeling. It's non-negotiable. When you get that peace of mind and self-satisfaction, knowing you did the best to become the best in which you are capable, fear isn't even an obstacle anymore. You have peace of mind knowing, hey, I gave it the absolute best I can. Now, whether that gets you at the top of the mountain or not, that's up to you, because that's the goal you set. But it's the peace of mind knowing you absolutely did the best. But I can guarantee you, if you have fear and you haven't gotten to where you want to be, you don't have peace of mind. Okay, so you have to realize that peace of mind is a major factor in your success. And that's why John Wooden felt that he would put that in the first part of his definition. And it's something I use with all my student athletes. Because there are student athletes, I work with a lot of baseball players, usually between 80 to 150 every year. And there are some baseball players that will be high school players, some that will be college players, and some that can actually get drafted. But I don't want that person ever thinking because they didn't get drafted, they're not a success. Albert Einstein used to say, everyone's born a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it's going to grow up its whole life thinking it's useless. And I really want you to think about that, because we have to make sure that we know what success is internally. We have to have this peace of mind feeling. So, Paul, if we can go to slide 4. What I want to talk about is what I call the small me. Some people call this the ego. I call it the small me. And the small me is really the narrator in your mind. All right, it's an interpreter. It's the the one who supplies a descriptive commentary for a movie or a story or performance. So it's not a feeling. A feeling is direct. A feeling is something you have, and I'm going to teach you something at the end of this so that you walk away knowing what you're capable of. But the small me basically takes every interpretation, everything that you see, touch, taste, smell, or hear, and it interprets it for you. Okay, and I know all of you on this call are going to say, well, what do you mean by a small me? The merely fact that you probably asked that question in your head, that's what I'm talking about. The small me is the one that posed the question. So you have a voice in your head, all right? And you have this voice that's either your friend or your foe. And what I tell you is you have to make that voice your friend. Because when you make it your foe, it increases fear. And you can start, I'll tell you right now, the biggest thing you can do to overcome fear is you can transform the language. Instead of saying fear, you produce a result. You don't fail. All right. Many people look at something where they try to sell a client and it falls through, or, you go up to the plate and you strike out, you miss a shot in basketball, whatever it is. Many times with the athletes I work with is because they feel they're failing. And I say, no, you produced a result. Now what you need to do is you need to learn from that result. You need to take all the efforts, everything you did and the result that you produced, and you say, okay, what did I do great and what can I improve on? But you never actually fail. By taking action, you don't fail at all. All right. And I'm assuming that just with what you're doing with Beachbody is there's going to be some clients that absolutely love it, and there's going to be some clients that are still on the fence or just decline it in general. And that's not fail. That just means you produce a result. But what you'll find in sales calls, because I work in the sales industry also, that it usually is a fifth or sixth call in which 75% of sales are made. Meaning that if you quit after the first or second, you've already shut the barn door on a thoroughbred horse that's already left, and you lost a great opportunity. So what I'm saying is first transform the word failure into producing a result, which is feedback. Okay, you've produced a result, you have feedback, now you can go from there. If you want to go down, Paul, to slide 5, I'll just give you some ideas. Some of the things the small me tells you is it gives you a comparison. Actually, the next, the one before that, Paul, I'm sorry. Comparison. There you go. Some of the things are the voices in your head. He or she's better than you. Again, we compare ourselves to other people. Maybe you feel you're too small or you're too tall. Whatever it is, what you're going to come up with a comparison to that person next to you. You're too slow. We even label people. Hey, you're ADD. You can't focus for any amount of time. All these labels and comparison that we come up internally by what we look in the mirror and by what we look at other people. Then we set limitations. You can't do that. You're not good enough. You're not smart enough. Well, according to who? Who put that label there? Who's the one that gave you that idea? Albert Einstein, after he left 7th grade, was told that he got a D- in science, and told his parents were told that he was absolutely useless and he should never continue at school. He should get a job right away. What would have happened if he would have listened, right? So these are limitations not only given by others, but they are the internal voice. We just talked about that voice inside your head saying you're not good enough. You can't sell that. You can't make the Success 5. You're not going to be one of the top performers. Well, that's all in your head. That's the voice that you have internally. Okay. Next one, Paul. Small me really, in essence, is summarized, it's to prevent you from continuance. Now, people call it flow. Some people call it the zone. I call it continuance. The reason being is because when you continue on a pattern, nothing really stops you except you. When you're performing at a top level, whether it be in business, whether it be in school, whether it be on a court or in a field, you continue. You have this ultimate feeling inside of you, and you continue with it. The small me will be the one that stops you. It's the one that voice inside your head that says, oh, things are going too well. Something bad will happen. Well, guess what? It will, because you've already convinced yourself of that internally. It wants you to feel unsatisfied, like you're not good enough. Even though everything you've done gives you this internal feeling of success, you have that peace of mind, its job is to basically say you're not good enough, get more. Be unsatisfied. It wants to compare you to others and everything. We just talked about that, how one person may be performing versus you. And then it sets, oh, well, you're failing compared to them. That's an internal comparison. All right. Get to that success where you have peace of mind. And then it wants to make you disconnected. All right. As opposed to this whole individual where you're connected. You can go to the next one, Paul. You know what? We can skip that one. Go to the next one. So I want you to think about this. This is an industry where you have a product. You actually have an idea of a concept. You can change lives and impact lives with Beachbody. I know because I purchased these supplements. And think of this: low self-esteem is a thinking disorder in which an individual views him or herself as inadequate, unlovable, and/or incompetent. Once formed, this negative view permeates every thought-producing faulty assumption and ongoing self-defeating behavior. And this gives you the website where I got this information. So the negative thought is low self-esteem. It's a thinking disorder. I actually had the privilege and pleasure of meeting the real Patch Adams, not the movie that Robin Williams created, the actual real Patch Adams. And when I was discussing what I did and how I just wanted to pick his brain, like when I get in front of everybody, I like to talk to him and understand what made him successful. He said, Adam, let me give you an idea of how important what you're doing is. He said, I have interviewed over 4,400 nurses to join my practice. And you have to understand, his practice is free, meaning that people donate their time. They don't get paid. He said, I have interviewed over 4,400 nurses for my practice, 14% of which admitted to me that they actually had any type of self-esteem. So that means that 86% of everybody he interviewed for 4,400 people had no self-esteem or very low self-esteem, period. So here's some statistics you can just muddle on. Among high school students, 44% of girls are attempting to lose weight. Over 70% of girls aged 15 to 17 avoid normal daily activities, such as attending school, when they feel bad about their looks. 75% of girls with low self-esteem reported engaging in cutting, bullying, smoking, drinking, or disordered eating. They don't like themselves, so they're going to make other lives miserable. More than 40% of boys in middle school and high school regularly exercise with the goal of increasing muscle mass. 38% of boys in middle school and high school report using protein supplements, and nearly 6% admitted to experiencing actually with steroids. Only 4% of women around the world consider themselves beautiful. 4%. That's actually up 2%, 2004. Only 11% of girls globally are comfortable using the word beautiful to describe themselves. More than half, 54% of women globally agree that when it comes to how they look, they are their own worst beauty critic. Now, I want you to think about something with what you do. Think of the opportunity you have when you're selling, when you're talking with customers. Think of these statistics and how low their self-esteem is, and how you're actually giving them a quality of life, and how you're offering them something different in their life, an opportunity where they can look and feel better about themselves. Not just because they're looking at themselves with low self-esteem and this is what makes them feel happy. No, this is transformational. You have the opportunity with what you do and what you offer people to transform their life. These are just simple statistics, and we're looking at a world full of low self-esteem. Think of the positive impact you can have with people. Okay, so what I always tell people is I give you these statistics, think of creative ways you can use it to your benefit. All right? Paul, if you want to go to the next one. All right, this is a concept I invented. It's called deriving. Now you're going to ask me, what do you mean by deriving? Deriving is very simple. Whenever you get a feeling or an emotion inside of you, it doesn't just happen, okay? You get it from somewhere. But what happens is you have this deriving feeling that comes one after another. Deriving is emotions, memories, reactions, conditioned behaviors, backward thinking. So what happens is you might be actually thinking, how can I be successful at Beachbody? How can I be successful at sales when everybody I talk to tells me no? And then what happens is your subconscious will start deriving, will start going at like what I call a transderivational search into your subconscious to find all the other times in your life where you were unsuccessful. This is what the voice does. This is what the small me does. And it'll go back to the time when you were 4 years old, when maybe you didn't do something successful at school and they made fun of you in kindergarten. This is what deriving is. It goes back as many times as you can. Think about in relationships. You have one argument, and then all of a sudden you think about all the other times where you had another argument, another argument, and another argument, instead of switching it. You're constantly going back into your mind and think of all the different times in your life when people made you feel inferior, in whatever various ways they are. This is you. This is your memory bank. This is all it's doing. This is what the small me does. So you're deriving back in time to find other times to support your opinion on why you're unsuccessful, why you have a fear. An example I'll give to you of this is when I started triathlons. Now you got to understand, I played baseball and basketball through college. I played baseball part professionally. I was never in a pool. I never had time. So I took it upon myself that I was going to do a triathlon. Well, lo and behold, my buddy convinces me to do a half Ironman. Well, the half Ironman, as you know, is a 1.2 mile swim, and it's in open water. I didn't spend time in open water. I never did as a kid. So I actually got to the point where I felt confident swimming in a pool a mile. But a mile in a pool and a mile in open water are two completely different things. One of the first things I had to do is when I went there, because it was my first time in the triathlon, they made me wear a pink hat. And the pink hat just symbolized that these are first-time swimmers in open water, and we may not know what we're doing yet. Now, if you can think about what that made me feel like, because I had to wear a pink cap for swimming, you know, it really was kind of like a kick to the gut at first. And so right then I'm thinking about, oh boy, deriving, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to be successful. That was about 5 years ago. And this goes against everything I teach. So I'm like, okay, this is not going to be good. I go into the water for the pre-swim and I start to panic. I swim right back to the dock and I get out and I'm standing there and I was actually questioning, am I going to actually do this? I didn't know if I could. And then it hit me. I said, Adam, what are you doing? You're deriving. You're thinking of every time in your life where you were unsuccessful. You were thinking every time in your life where maybe you'd had a bad experience in water when you were in water. Look at it from a simple standpoint. I said, look, there's a lifeguard every 50 yards in the water on a boogie board. Swim point to point. All you've got to do is swim point to point. Now, you got to understand, my body's not engineered. We're talking about Brian Urlacher. My feet actually don't bend forward. You're supposed to use your feet as paddles so that they project you going forward. My feet actually don't bend that way. So believe it or not, my feet act like anchors. So I use my shoulders and my arms more than I actually use my feet when I'm swimming. So at that point, I'm like, all right, 1.2 miles and 60 feet deep water, murky, I can't see. I can call it quits right now. But then I realized everything of all the reasons why I couldn't be successful. Because I was thinking back to when I was a kid, when I was unsuccessful in swimming in anything I did. And actually at 4 years old, I almost drowned. So believe it or not, I went back to that time at 4 years old. And then I'm thinking about all the other times in my life, because all these things kept popping up of how I was unsuccessful when I tried something new. And I realized I was deriving. I said, stop. If I'm going to be the mentor to these kids that I'm going to be, I have to prove that I can overcome failure, that I can overcome these fears in my life. Gun went off. Not only did I complete it, I was the last one out of the lake. I didn't care, but I completed it. And when I got on the bike, I actually took a nasty fall, but I didn't feel it because I was so high from the fact that I completed my swim and overcame one of the biggest fears in my life. So what I'm saying is that, you know, and believe it or not, I still keep that pink swim cap with me today. It's something that I still keep in one of my workout bags because it just reminds me of anytime I start deriving, I stop myself instantly and I bring it back. And all of you are going to start to notice this. I will tell you this, when you end the call tonight and you start tomorrow, you're going to start to realize at work, when you're selling Beachbody, when you're working with clients, when you're doing anything, you're going to start deriving at different times in your life when something happened. When you notice it, you're already on the path to transforming it. And I'm very good at noticing it, so that's why I can overcome a lot of things I do right now. So deriving simply is you go back in time and you think of all the times when you had that similar experience. You kind of make sense of them. You interpret why you act. These behaviors to me, like when I'm working with somebody on the mentor side, all I have to do is do a derivational search like this with them, and I've already come to the source of where it happened. And a lot of times that's how we quickly transform things in their life. So what you do is you think of every time you were unsuccessful and you hold on to that. Well, right now I'm going to give you something to use to be successful, because I'm not going to leave you in this state when we're talking about deriving. I want you to think about this. Somewhere in front of you, I don't care where it is, we're going to create a circle of confidence. And this is going to be my gift for you to leave tonight. I want you somewhere in front of you on the floor to create a circle. A circle the size of like a sewer cover. I mean, it's got to be big enough for you to step into. Don't make it a small one. Make it a bigger one. It's your circle, so I want you to make it a color. Think of what color you like. If it's yellow, if it's red, if it's pink, if it's blue, it's orange, it's your color. Put it there. That's your circle. Now, your circle can make noise. It can bling. It can glitter. It can flash. It can do whatever you want. Again, this is your circle. But somewhere in front of you, a foot to 2 feet in front of you, I want you to put a circle. All right? Now, you may have to stand up for this because I'm going to ask you to step into the circle of confidence. Now, what I want you to do is somewhere in front of you where you put that circle, I want you to think of a time in your life when you were ultimately successful. Maybe it was a rejection you overcame. Maybe it was a fear you thought you had, and you completely overcame it. You knew you could do something, and you did it. Whatever that may be, this is what you call your circle of confidence. Now, here's the key. When you're ready, and only when you're ready, I want you to physically step into that circle, the color of your choice, and I want you to close your eyes, and I want you to take on this video clip of when you were successful, when you were confident. I want you to think back to a time when you had ultimate success, you knew you could do it, and you did it. And I want you to go through the whole sequence of events from beginning to start. So when you're ready, step into that circle of confidence, close your eyes, and completely take on that state. It's important to feel what you felt, hear what you heard, see what you saw, smell what you smelt, touch what you touched. I mean, I want you to be there. Be there the whole time. Take it on. And when you feel you have that, I want you to just come back to me in front of the video, not necessarily sit down, but come back to me in front of the video to let me know you stepped into that circle of confidence, you had that again. Okay, good. I can't see all of you, so I'm just going to wait. Okay, perfect. All right, now, what I want you to do is I want you to go back. We're going to do a change of state real quick. I want you to think about this. What was the first thing you saw or heard on the radio or TV this morning? Just think about it really quick. Once you have it, that's it. Okay? Now, that's a state breaker. So now what I want you to do is we're going to test it. We're going to go back and we're going to test that circle of confidence. You change your state. Now we're going to go back in. Now, when we go back and test the circle of confidence, once again, I want you to hear what you heard, see what you saw, feel what you felt, taste what you were tasting, everything. I want you to bring all those senses in, and I want you to be in that moment and live that experience fully in that circle of confidence. And when you're there, stay there. I'm going to guide you this time. All right? Do it again. Now, as you hold this feeling of confidence, this feeling of success, if you're still in the moment where you're actually experiencing all the visual and everything that goes with it, please stay there. Just continue to hear my voice. What I want you to do is I want you to multiply it. I want you to double it. Double that feeling of confidence. Double that feeling of success. I really want you to feel that generate through your body. The biggest producer of feeling in your body is your heart. And your heart, oddly enough, can take the blood from the valves and pump it all the way through the entire body in 1.5 seconds. So with that time frame, I want you to take the feeling from your heart that you have and move it through your blood and your veins as fast as that. Move it all the way around, from head to toes. Let that feeling of confidence absorb you. Let it take full effect in your body, moving through every blood cell you have. And as you do that, I want you to dissociate from the picture and dissociate from all the other senses and just hold the feeling. I want you to operate with your feeling only, this feeling of success, this feeling of confidence. And hold it. Hold that in your circle. So all you have is feeling of success and confidence. And as you hold that, feeling ultimately successful, ultimately confident, I want you to open your eyes and look into the future and think of the next client you may be bringing Beachbody and its products to. And with this feeling of success, this feeling of confidence, see how you overcome the rejection or any objection, and see how you continue with the feeling so that you are able to offer the full mission of why you're there and what you're doing. And then bring it back, and just, if I could have you when you're done with that, if you can just stand in front of the camera so I know you're back and we can talk a little bit further. All right. So let's start getting people back. Sorry, I've only got about 4 of these screens, so I can't see everything. So this is how you end deriving. This is how you transform deriving. You have this circle of confidence. Now, what I tell everybody, the reason I had you dissociate from feeling, when I work with baseball players and athletes and student athletes, I always tell them, if I'm a baseball player and I have a visualization that I'm going to hit a home run over the left field fence, well, if he throws me a strike down the middle or to the inner half, that has a possibility of happening. But what happens in most cases with kids in baseball is they visualize hitting it over the left field fence and the pitcher throws them 3 outside sliders and they either strike out or they hit it off the end of the bat, because the pitcher's not going to give you the same pitch that you jacked a home run off him last time. So in essence, they're going to fail, or they're going to produce a result that's not been a factor to them because they went up there with a visualization. But if they go up there with the feeling, if they go up there with a feeling of confidence, knowing that no matter where the pitcher hits it or pitches it, you're going to hit it, that's a total different ballgame. The reason I have you dissociate from the pitcher, I first have you step into that circle of confidence and take that pitcher and take the emotions and everything and the senses with you, because I want you to relive that time to prove to yourself that you are successful and that you have this feeling and it's there. But then I have you dissociate from the picture and all the senses that go with it, because the only thing I want you to operate with is a feeling of confidence. When you have a feeling of confidence, you don't hear no when someone tells you no, I'm not interested in this. Because you ultimately are understanding that they're telling you no because they don't understand what you're selling is useful to them. What you're offering them is not useful to them because they don't understand it fully. When you have a feeling of confidence, you're looking for the reason why they would want it, because that's all you hear at that moment. You feel the success, you feel the confidence in your own body, and all you do is you hear the opportunity in which you could offer them a life-changing moment. So do me a favor. Takes 21 days minimum to make a habit. I want you to use this experience tonight, and I want you to take the circle of confidence, and 2 or 3 times a day, I would suggest 3, just go somewhere. Go in your bedroom, go in your office. Nobody has to see you do this. Step into that circle and bring on that feeling of confidence. And then just operate with that. Before I go on interviews, before I go on any big appointments, I step right in my circle of confidence. I take on that feeling, and it only takes a second or 2 just because I've been doing it so long. I trigger the feeling, I have the confidence, and I go right into it. Bring that approach with you, because this is what eliminates deriving. This is what eliminates all the reasons why you won't be successful. And it's a simple state feeling. It's transformative. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it's been beneficial for you. I don't know if you guys have Q&A. If you do, I'm definitely open to any kind of questions anyone has.
Wow, Adam. Thank you so much. That was, I'm tingling. That's pretty powerful stuff. And I can just see it. I can just picture in my office there being a blue circle right next to where I make all my calls and I do my power hour. And how cool would that be to step into your circle and pick up the phone and call someone you need to follow up with?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And to be completely detached from the outcome, but have the confidence to know that you're going to do your best and present to them whatever it is they need help with.
Yes.
And that's pretty powerful. I just love this. By taking action, you don't fail. Mm-hmm. And it's been said time and time again by top coaches at Beachbody that coaches don't take enough action. They don't talk to enough people. And the more action you take, the better your confidence is going to be. And you'll just feel more successful regardless of what the outcome is. Regardless if they say yes or no. It doesn't matter. You're just educating people on what we have to offer.
Yep.
So that's awesome. Why don't we open it up for a couple questions and see if anybody has anything for Adam. So can you unmute folks when they raise their hand there?
Can I ask just a quick question? You said at the very end about stepping into that circle of confidence and you're not hearing the negative. And you said something, and I forget the exact words that you said, that you only hear like the info that will benefit them. I forget how you phrased it, but it seemed very poignant, and I just feel like I want to write it down and be able to share with the rest of my team.
Absolutely.
I don't think I remember. Hi, I'm Kayla. I'm one of the diamonds here. I'm qualifying for 1 star. Yay!
Wonderful.
Under Paul.
Wonderful. Nice to meet you, Kayla.
Nice to meet you too.
One of the things I always say is if you leave your house today and you start looking for white vans, you're going to see more white vans than you've ever seen in your entire life because you're actually looking for them. It's like when you get a new car. What happens? Anybody who's driving the car you just bought, you recognize. Now, the funny thing is the day before, you probably ran into tons of them, but you weren't looking for it. Okay. So apply that to feeling. When you have a feeling of success, someone's going to give you a reason why they're not interested. But what you have to realize is that when you are in a feeling state of confidence, a feeling of confidence, in that state of confidence, I guess you would say, you start to recognize that at some point they're going to give you even one reason as to why they would be interested in the product. And it's that one reason that you have to be very attentive to. That's going to be the reason where you can actually sell them what they're looking for. I manage a staff, and it's very similar. We work in the financial industry, and I can guarantee you, one of the things I do in the first 90 to 180 days of every staff I work with is we spend a lot of time on how to listen, not only with your ears and eyes, but with your heart, because it's a feeling. You're going to get this feeling like they want to tell me more, but they're not opening it. They're not opening up to it, and I got to find out why. There's a block there. So you have to be fully engaged, and to be fully engaged, you have to be confident. And when you're fully confident and fully engaged, then all of a sudden they'll give you one, maybe two reasons as to why they're interested in your product. And now you've got what I call their artery. You've got the reason why they would buy it, their main reason for buying anything that you'd be interested in selling. Does that make sense? Cool.
Yes, thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Who else has a question? And by the way, that's why we use that technique of what did you like best about whatever third-party tool they saw, so that you have that one thing that they do like that you can converse about, that you can talk about that, versus the 50 reasons they don't want it.
Right.
Yeah. All right, someone's got to have a question. Nicole?
I think, does Kayla have her hand up again?
Well, not technically, but I mean, I could definitely come up with another question. I'm known to be one of the talkers, so.
Love it.
I guess where I at least look at my downline and where they're struggling is that they think they're just, doing what they need to do, and they don't realize that they need to talk to more people, and they don't know what to say. And I don't know that necessarily I guess this is sort of an extension of what you're talking about tonight, but it just seems like they just won't get over this hump that they have to do more. They have to talk to people more. They have to start practicing what they're saying to people in order to sort of master how to do it, so they can kind of correct these do's and don'ts that will work and will ultimately get them, like you said, that one little piece of information that will help get over an objection. And I just feel like a lot of my team they're like, oh yeah, I'm talking to people. Like it's almost like they're embarrassed to be a coach. They don't want to tell people that that's what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't really know how to get them to come over, to get over that part of it.
Okay. So it's interesting you say that. If you would have known me about 15 years ago, I was that guy who was a hermit that didn't want to talk to anybody anywhere. If I could have built a house on the side of a mountain away from life in general, I would have. And then it just all came to me. I think it was right at the time when I had my nervous breakdown. Everything just kind of came to me that I need people. I need people to be successful, and people actually need me. That's why Rudyard Kipling wrote about the strength of the wolf pack, is because you can have one wolf who's dominant, but if you don't have the pack to support him or her, it doesn't matter. The strength of the wolf is the pack, and the strength of the pack is a wolf. That's why they hunt together. So I'll give you a technique. This has worked successfully in every sales. I've sold appliances, electronics. I've sold mortgages. I'm working in the financial industry right now. What I can tell you is this: the thing that's always been successful for me is that I look at myself as a reporter. When I go and talk to you, I want to know everything about you. Everything. I want to talk to you. Please tell me more about that. When I was last week, I was literally talking to a bunch of Navy SEALs. Now, these are people who probably don't talk much, but I was basically saying, tell me more about you. Tell me about your life. What got you into the Navy? What got you where you are today? I want to know more about you. And the mere fact that somebody cared enough to know about them, he was interested. He was interested in the conversation. So when I say be a reporter, I really mean that. I would invite you to go to people and just talk about them. People love to talk about themselves. And Kayla, I go back to what we first talked about. When you talk about people are talking about themselves, that's when they give you the trigger clues of a need for you to give them a solution. Because they're going to tell you why they would need your product. They were going to tell you why it's beneficial to them. And at that point, you can say, okay, here's my solution for your need. But it was all because you became a reporter and you listened to it. When you just try it, go to a party, talk to somebody and just ask them questions about themselves. Don't even talk about you. Just give me everything about, I want to know about where you came from, how you were raised, why'd you choose this university? Why'd you do this? Just get everything out there. And then all of a sudden you start to realize patterns in the way people talk and why they're looking for certain things and why they choose different venues. And then all of a sudden it's like, all right, I have a solution for your need because you keep choosing according to this pattern. But that only happens when you get people to talk about themselves. Like very few people actually even know about me because I don't talk about me. I talk about them. And I get to know them.
He who asks the most questions wins.
That's another way of saying it.
Yeah.
But and again, that's confidence. Stepping into your circle of confidence, because when you're confident, you can ask anybody anything. Like I always say, there's no conversation off the table. I mean, it's my mentoring, counseling background, true, but I really don't think there's any conversation that you can't talk about. I think you could talk about politics, religion, anything. You just have to realize that you've got to ask them questions about what they're looking for, and then they don't have to know what you believe. You just have to ask them questions of what they're looking into, what they're about, who they are. And the more you talk to them, and it's like, oh, wow. And then you get to know them, and as you know them, then they start to trust you. And then they're interested in what you have to sell. That's why Stephen Covey put as one of the 7 habits of highly effective people: seek first to understand, then to be understood. He wasn't kidding. You got to understand them before they can possibly understand you.
Yeah, that's be interested more than you're interesting.
Right, exactly.
Be interested in them more than talking about yourself and all the interesting things you do.
Because when you're, again, going back to that circle of confidence, when you're confident, you don't need to talk about you. You're already confident. You want to talk about them. You want to know more about them so that you can make them feel confident about themselves, which they will by talking about themselves to you.
Awesome stuff. Wow. Does anybody have any more questions?
Hey, Adam. My name's Ken. Thank you so much for speaking.
Sure.
So a lot of times when people first start out, they're always looking at success stories. We have plenty of success stories, both physically on this team and also coach-wise on this team. But it seems like a lot of coaches are still saying, yeah, they can do it because they had this, or they could do it because they have this job or something. How do you get through those coaches that they have special things about themselves that will make them successful at this, and get them to carry those special things to the clients that they're looking at?
So I want to make sure I understand you correctly, Ken. You're saying that there's certain coaches that are successful because they have connections, or?
No, there's plenty of stories out there of success, but it just seems like a lot of the coaches that aren't having success right now are making excuses, saying
as to why they're not
having success. So
gotcha.
how can we give them confidence, saying, no, there are good things about you that can get you to the success side?
Well, yeah, Ken, that's an interesting question. What I can hopefully answer that with is success breeds success. One of the things that I find interesting is the most flexible element is the most dominant. So you will have certain people that don't feel flexible enough and aren't open to challenging limiting beliefs, aren't open to challenging themselves. I'm here to tell you, after doing this for 15 years, there's very little you can do with that unless they're open to change. Unless they're open to transformation, there's very little. It doesn't matter what you do. When the student is ready, the teacher appears. And when you have to be ready and willing to change, And then all of a sudden your mentor shows up in some way, shape, or form. The only thing I can tell you is that you are responsible for you. And then obviously that will breed into success with working with other people, because you can show by your example what you created. We go back to the small me. The small me is always creating excuses as to why you can't. This person got this success because they know these 10 people, or this people got this contract, or that's why they're successful. Being the flexible element is most dominant. That gives you the opportunity for creativity. And the one thing I can tell you about the conscious world is that we're constantly changing. If you would have told me that I can do everything I can from a crazy little iPhone 10 years ago, I would have laughed at you. But I literally can run an entire business off my iPhone. I don't need anything else. I've got everything I possibly need right there. So one of the things we have to realize is that we're getting so creative so fast, we have to keep up with that. Now, how do you do that? Educating yourself, finding mentors. Mentors can be people you Google. People you read on TV, or read books on, or watch on TV. And then you get inspired by them and say, okay, well, this is what this person's story is, and this is how they did it. So I'm going to take bits and pieces of that, and I'm going to create my way. One of the things I like to cherish about my program is that I don't give you a specific way to do anything. I just open you up to new ideas, so that when you leave working with me, it's like, okay, wow, I can do this now, and here's why, and here's the creative patterns and what I'm going to do to make it successful. So if anything, I don't know, Ken, if you work with other coaches and if that's how you're set up, but, one of the things you want to really do is challenge people's limiting beliefs. Well, one of the things that I love to say is when people give me a belief, where did that come from? Where did that thought come from? How did you get to that thought pattern? Or where did that belief come from? Just by saying that question, it makes people think, well, I don't know, There's an old story about a woman who she cooked a ham in her oven, and she'd cut the ends off the ham. And finally one day her daughter says, Mom, why do you cut the ends off the ham before you put it in the oven? She goes, I don't know. Your mom, my grandma, or your grandma, my mom used to do that. Well, let's call Grandma. So they call Grandma, and Grandma says, well, yeah, back in 1950, I had this oven that was yay big, so that was the only way it would fit. So, you've got all these people, generations, cutting the ends off of hams to fit in an oven because that's all she could cook in. Well, that doesn't mean you have to do that anymore. So you want to question everything. And I've come to that conclusion. You want to question a lot of beliefs. And it really starts with you as a coach saying, well, where did that come from? How did you get to that point of view? And if you say you're not being a jerk by asking that question, you're just being honest. You're just saying, I'm just curious. Where did that come from? And that's the way you can, as a coach, to challenge beliefs. And you have that right, and you have that ability. And I think the more you do that, more people will start to get the hint that you're not interested in excuses. Because my staff, everywhere I go, nope, just find a new way. Be creative. Don't come to Adam with an excuse, because he's not going to deal with it. But it's how you approach it. It's definitely how you approach it and how you challenge others. So does that answer your question, Ken?
Yep, that definitely does. And then another way to get over your fears is just to keep doing it. Like, yes. So if you have a fear that you won't be successful in your health and fitness journey, just keep trying, try different ways, keep going, try different programs, things like that, and all of a sudden you'll be like, wow, I made it, So
absolutely.
Just keep doing it.
Well, and I go back to a story by Ross Perot, and I don't get involved in any kind of political viewpoints, but Ross Perot used to, when he was with IBM, he used to realize, because he did door-to-door sales, so he actually knocked on people's doors. He realized he had to get 50 no's before he got one yes. So he had to have 50 people slam a door in his face before he can get one person to say yes. So one of the things you can do is track and say, okay, how many people have said yes to me and how many people have said no? So if it's 15 no's to one yes, then guess what? Every day you're going to get 15 people to tell you no. But if you get a yes on the second client, well, that means you have the opportunity to get 15 more no's before you can get another yes that day, and then boom, there you are. So if you break it down simply, it's all mathematically how you do it. Again, that's part of the creativity piece. I don't want to tell you how to do that, because I feel that's your way, and that's what makes you successful. But you have to realize that a certain number of people are going to tell you no. And when you realize what that number is, then you set to say, okay, well, if 1 out of 40 tells me no, then I have 39 other people that I have the opportunity with.
Awesome. Just getting closer to that yes. Mm-hmm. That's all it is. So, Well, I think we're going to wrap it up here because Adam has to bed, and a lot of people have first day of school tomorrow with their kids. It's getting late on the East Coast there. I got to work all night tonight, going to the East Coast. So I'm looking at where you were this weekend, Adam. I'm looking out the window right at Marsac over there. So.
Oh, wonderful! Yeah, I was in Oceanside all weekend.
Yeah. Yep. Very, very awesome.
Very cool.
So, guys, I thank you so much, Adam, for coming on and speaking with the team. This has been awesome. I'm so glad we got to meet you and that you got to present to us. Great team call. And I want to wrap it up by congratulating Jennifer Eckenrode on making Diamond. Oh, that's so cool. So cool. And Kayla, congratulations on starting your qualification for 1-star. Michelle Iolios, I don't know if you're on, but congratulations. And Bethel, congratulations on the Emerald too. That's so cool, so cool. Let's have a great week. Let's finish up the month. Awesome. Good luck with the rest of your team cup. Hope you get some selfie sticks and some size wear and share. Let's rock the rest of August here, guys. All right. Thanks for joining us tonight. Thanks again, Adam. And
Absolutely.
we'll see you all soon.
Take care.
Thanks. Bye-bye, everybody.